Hello and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Talking Football, where we take a close look at the events of world football. Last night we covered the action from Spain and England. Today it's time for the French Championnat and the German Bundesliga. I'm joined again in the studio by Ouriel Daskal. Hi, Ouriel.
Hi.
Bayern Munich cruising on, Paris Saint-Germain not so much. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get started. We begin today with the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich came back home after their draw away against Schalke in the previous match day, and their match against Stuttgart proved to be quite difficult. The Allianz Arena, as always, full of happy fans. The Bavarian had possession through most of the game, but it was not easy to go through the visiting defense. The breakthrough came close to the half-hour mark. The World Cup hero does it again. Mario Götze gave the champions the lead after the Stuttgart defenders could not properly clear Xabi Alonso's free kick. 5 minutes from time, they seal the win. Robert Lewandowski, the new transfer from Dortmund, finds Frank Ribéry with a beautiful pass, and the Frenchman knows exactly what it is he has to do. There wasn't really much to write home about, but it was enough to secure another 3 points for Bayern Munich en route to a third successive Bundesliga title. Ouriel, maybe Bayern Munich found the perfect formula. Bring the players from Dortmund. Götze, Lewandowski, it works out.
And also bringing a very major player from Real Madrid. Nice statistics, since Xabi Alonso joined Bayern Munich, he had 2 man of the matches performance, and Real Madrid played 2 games and lost without Xabi Alonso. So he's a major factor here.
And Real Madrid are the team that knocked Bayern Munich out of the Champions League last season. Now, Bayern Munich are expected to win the Bundesliga. It will probably happen. Their big test is in the Champions League. Will anything other than the cup itself be a disappointment? Bear in fact that Pep Guardiola came in last season and he was unsuccessful.
Well, it was successful, He won
in the league and the cup.
In the league and the cup. When you're winning, you cannot be unsuccessful, and he did reach the semi-finals of the Champions League. Obviously, I think they know that the cup is their big, that's their ambition, and I think anything other than getting to the final will be a failure.
Interesting to see, obviously, that regarding Bayern Munich, the team expected to put some kind of a fight to the Bavarians is, of course, Borussia Dortmund. The team in yellow lost their first home match of the season, and this time they wanted to make sure they do not leave their devoted 80,000 fans disappointed again. Freiburg came for a visit at the Westfalenstadion, and the home team took charge early on. Adrian Ramos gave them the lead on 34 minutes. Just ahead of halftime, it was time for the new hero in Dortmund to shine. Japan's Shinji Kagawa doubles the lead, and it's 2-0 at the break. The fans here love him. They just hope they don't see him moving to Munich next summer. Freiburg showed some poor defense in the second half, allowing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to run all the way to the goal and get Dortmund's third. The visitors lost 2 of their 3 matches so far. With this defense, it's quite easy to see that happening. Freiburg did get some consolation at the end. In stoppage time, it was Oliver Sorg who finds the net. 3-1 was the final score. Ouriel, I feel Dortmund, it's a bit like Atletico Madrid. They have to find new players every year, and they succeed every year, and then those players leave to the big money. Can they do it for the long term?
Well, I think it depends really on the coach. Like in Atletico Madrid, the great spirit, the great spirit Klopp wants in the club is really there. He insists is on for the long term, but Manchester City are going to fire Pellegrini one day, and you have Chelsea, maybe Mourinho will leave, and then he will have to leave. So I think up until then, they won't have a problem. They're going to be up there always. Maybe after Klopp leaves, well, I hope for them it's in 10 years' time.
Because Jurgen Klopp is really the spirit of this team. Now, Borussia Dortmund had some very impressive runs in the Champions League. They got to the final in 2013, knocked out in the quarterfinal last season, but almost beat Real Madrid again. Two tough competitions, Bundesliga and Champions League. Are they up to it?
I think, Bayern Munich has the complete squad, and I don't see it in Dortmund. I mean, they have great players, but they're, they have quality but not quantity. They don't have a lot of great players, and it's going to be difficult for them to really make a run. They made it. They succeeded in the few years because of Klopp, because of the great energy of the club and the fans and all that. But I can't see it holding on for a long term because they just don't have the quantity of players.
Yes, and bear in mind we're starting 2 games a week now. The Champions League players will get injured. That will be
They're
obviously
already suffering from a lot of
Marco
injuries.
Reus.
Yeah.
Obviously, that will take a big toll from them. In other Bundesliga results, Bayer Leverkusen lose their first points of the season as their match against Bremen ended in a 3-3 draw. Hannover beat Hamburg 2-0 and Borussia Mönchengladbach leave Schalke behind with a very impressive 4-1. 3 teams with 7 points lead the Bundesliga: Bayer Leverkusen, Bayern Munich and Hannover. Behind them is Borussia Dortmund with 6. Now to France, and the story here is the slow motion in which champions Paris Saint-Germain began their season with another draw this weekend, 1-1 in Rennes, and on the other hand, the fact that there is no one really to challenge them. Ouriel, PSG, not so good. And now, yes, Zlatan was injured, Thiago is still injured, but it doesn't seem to be strong enough.
Well, they're not in the groove yet, and I think it's a lot to do with Zlatan not being in the groove. He's still, he was injured. He still gets, ready for the season in his mind, I think. And Marseille are doing well. I mean, I think Marseille can challenge them with Bielsa.
Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah, they have a lot of young, talented players, and they have Bielsa, who's one of the best coaches, most influential coaches in the world. And I think Paris Saint-Germain will find it very difficult to get back to the season if they're not going to start winning, soon.
Right now. And we have with us Michael Friedman in the studio. Michael, you've been watching what the press says about Paris Saint-Germain. What does it look like from there?
Well, Paris Saint-Germain is the biggest name in France, and they're showing now the big slip-up that the French team is, drawing another match 1-1 against Rennes. They're the defending champions, and they only took 9 points in their first 5 games, which they won 2 games and drew the last 3. And the PSG keeper said we could do much better. So that's the first issue. The next is the Guardian reported how the PSG defender Gregory Van Wiel warned his side that they must raise their game because he knows that they have a big bullseye on their back. Every team that's competing, they're going to them and they're looking for that win. So ultimately, they're going to have to step it up and be ready for every single challenge.
And that Ouriel is the big story about the big teams. If you're a small team, it's different when you face Rennes or when you face PSG. When you face Zlatan, Edison, you want to shine.
Yeah, everyone thinks he's in a job interview. When you're playing Paris Saint-Germain, that's the dream.
Maybe they'll take me next season.
Yeah, maybe they'll take me next season. So they're going to put a lot of effort in it every time. But it's true to every champion. Every champion faces that. That's why it's so difficult to win straight, titles.
Back to back.
It's very, very difficult.
And now you mentioned Marseille with Marcelo Bielsa, who may be the biggest threat to Paris Saint-Germain. Everyone was expecting Monaco with their big money. And they're now in relegation zone. We're 5 games into the season. They've already lost 3, including this weekend to Lyon. Something is not working there.
They say divorce is bad for the kids. Well, it's bad for football teams as well. The big owner, he divorced his wife. He lost a lot of money. He cut back. He sent some of the players away for a lot of money. I mean, James Rodriguez for a lot a and Falcao for a lot of money. But still, when you rattle the ship that way, you're going to have some water, going inside and make, the smooth sail a bit harder. Monaco still have the quality, still have great players. I don't think they're going to face relegation. We'll have to see them in the Champions League as well, so it's going to be interesting.
And maybe, Michael, that's the story. Without James, without Falcao, they're not dealing very well, even if Berbatov, Moutinho are still there.
And Monaco keeps seeing this. They get great players, and they have to lose them because they can't afford to keep them. With James leaving and Falcao going, they're not the same team that they were last year.
Absolutely. Now, another results from France. Lille beat Nantes 2-0. Marseille, with Marcelo Bielsa on the sidelines, as we have mentioned, is enjoying a good run. This time they won 3-1 in Evian, and Bordeaux lose for the first time this season. Guingamp beat them 2-1. Here are the results from Spain. As we have said, Lyon beat Monaco, and Paris Saint-Germain, as you can see, only managed a 1-0 draw at Rennes. Lille are first in the French League with 11 points, followed by Marseille, Bordeaux and Saint-Etienne with 10. PSG are only fifth with 9 points, same as Montpellier. Every football fan has a dream of seeing a small club from a small village win against the big guys and reach glory. That dream was supposed to become reality in France, as tiny Lausanne, representing a village of less than 600 people, made it to the second division. But the politicians running the French football thought otherwise and sent tiny Lausanne all the way down to Division 7, apparently for no real reason. Lise Barnbaum and Michael Friedman with a story.
They were so close to their dream, but Lausanne will unfortunately not go to the second league in France. The French team believed it was their time, but the doors of professional football are now closed for the club. Lausanne did not even get the right to stay in the third division of French football. It's the end of their great aspirations of playing at the top league.
We feel a little depressed because a lot of work is wasted, and we're prepared to face these games in the second league with great pleasure. It takes away our dream. It's very difficult.
The club will return to the 7th division, which is the bottom of French football, just months after completing their climb to League 2. The team lost its legal battle against the Professional Football League, who denied its ascent to League 2. Lausanne hoped to at least be reinstated to the 3rd division, where the club finished last season.
We are obviously disappointed, and especially in regards to the players. Everything they have done this season was for nothing. That's too bad for them.
All of the efforts made by Jérôme Ducros, the president of the club, and the former Blues goalkeeper, Fabien Barthez, and current CEO, have been wasted. The club was offered to enter the semi-professional 5th division, but without automatic return to the 3rd division, which they seeked. Therefore, the head of the club decided to give up and release their players.
There is a sense of deep injustice because usually what is learned in the field is validated often by growth and titles. Here it shows that in the 1st division, if you don't have the money, you're not able to come to the top division.
This is a real blow for the village of 551 inhabitants who were denied access to the 2nd division because their stadium allegedly does not meet safety standards. The French Football League also rejected the offer to have the Toulouse Football Club host Lausanne in their stadium. Yet, other clubs have had better fortunes dealing with the French Football League. Lens in League 1 was sent to the 1st division despite a troubling financial situation. Their stadium was renovated at great expense to host Euro 2016, and therefore Lens have been able to capitalize on the renovated stadium. The situation has led to a standoff between the heads of the federation and ministers in charge of French sports, but even that did not help the small club. Fabien Barthez has now left his post as the director of the club, unfortunately. The French Cup now remains the only link between small local clubs and major professional teams.
Ouriel, I think this bothers the whole system. What's the point in playing if at the end of the day things are decided on the table and not on the pitch?
Well, I'll take a not popular look at it. There should be a complete separation between the amateur game and the professional game. I mean, every time people talking about the romance of the cup and all this, I'm looking at multi-billionaires playing against coppers and firefighters who can injure them, who can hurt them, who can ruin their career. That's a big problem. And when you have a complete separation, you can have a great amateur game, you can invest a lot of government money in it, make more people play the game, which is fine. But the professional game, with that money, it should stay professional.
But on the other hand, Lausanne, rightfully on the pitch, gained promotion to the second league, invested money, brought in players, they deserve the place.
That's a different story. I think Eibar had the same story. Well, sort of the same story in Spain, and they managed to get funding from from the public. They sold shares and they got it. They were all right in the end. Every country has its politicians and politicos, and they want influence. But I can understand the league's point of view. They want a professional club, to be a club with a stadium, with the right financial structure. I can understand that.
We'll see how that story develops. Michael Friedman, Ouriel Daskal, thank you very much. And that's it for us today. Don't forget, you can watch this and every other show on our website at i24news.tv. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily magazine, and next Monday and Tuesday we'll be here to talk football again. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.